Dan, thanks for joining the program. Really means a lot.
Good to be with you, Rich.
Appreciate it. What are you expecting to see on Sunday? Everybody's expecting to see a total blowout, which, you know, because of what we've seen with the Jets. Are you expecting the same thing, Dan?
Well, I hope not, because blowouts are tough broadcasts.
I know. Your colleagues on Thursday night are learning that.
Yeah, no, you know, the thing about the Broncos, obviously, is they're playing well. They came off the bye, and Manning's on the verge of even more records. And the Jets really are in a tailspin. To get shut out in the National Football League is it's unbelievable at times, because even at the end of games, you can go down and get a field goal or get a Hail Mary or something. But to go to San Diego and just totally be whipped like the Jets were, and then to have all the New York media just coming down like vultures on the Jets, it's going to be a tough turnaround for them.
How many yards more than the 43,040 that you had in your career would you have had with these rules, Dan?
Well, you know, I'm 63 years old, so I probably would have got to 44,000.
No. But if when you were playing with Air Coryell and the rules were currently as they are right now, what would you have done with that from your position?
Well, I just know that with Coach Coryell, we would have been at the top just as we were because of the talent we had and the way that he was always ahead of the game and the way he devised game plans and offensive systems. So I'm confident that we would have done just fine today, just as we did way back then, Rich.
Yeah, way back. Now, which is the best team that you've seen so far this year from the broadcast booth, as you have been through 5 weeks a game? Who would you say that's the best team I've seen so far this year?
Well, I'm not sure we have yet. It seems like each week a different team steps up a little bit. We just covered the Cowboys and the Texans game in Dallas last weekend, the overtime thriller. And, you know, I don't know if the Cowboys are the best team, but they may be the big surprise in the NFL, especially after, you know, what they did in the preseason and then to start the season. But they've gotten it going in a real positive way offensively. And when you think about their defense, nobody stands out, and really that's a good thing, because that means they're playing team defense. So I would say that the Cowboys, because they're so fresh in my mind, are the surprise team. Not sure they're the best team, though.
What was it like in that building? I know Tony Romo was complaining that he couldn't operate his offense in his own building because of how loud the Texans fans were, that there were too many of them there, and that the building is so large that it's difficult to get a home field advantage in there. What was that like, Dan?
It was strange. There's no question that Battle Red was very much in the stadium, and really more loud than the Cowboy fans. And you know, for Romo to say that is really amazing. I mean, you'd never hear that. I don't think I've ever heard a home team quarterback complaining about the opposing fans being too loud, so he can't call signals. Now, I've been in a home stadium where the fans are so loud booing me way back when that it made me hard to call signals. But Romo was playing well. The Cowboys were playing well, but the Texan fans, they were a lot of them there, and they were very loud.
Yeah, Mark Cuban was commenting on it today, saying it would drive me nuts if he had a similar issue with attendance in his stadium, and also saying, I was cheering for the Cowboys. I was in the minority, is what he said, because he was at that game. And but Dallas is going to really have its hands full, or its ears full, for the lack of a better phrase, this week in Seattle. How do you see that one playing out, Dan?
Well, I think that Seattle's quarterback, Russell Wilson, is making a case for himself to join the elite range of NFL quarterbacks. He's already got a Super Bowl in his trophy case. He's got a couple Pro Bowls, but now you see the game he has had lately, and the way he's been able to lead his team when they haven't been playing very well. And I just think that Russell Wilson, you know, at this point in the season, yeah, he's got to be in the conversation for MVP. And then you put that team in Seattle with that crowd. It's very, very difficult for an opposing team to get in there, because communication is just disrupted every turn of the game, whether it's the quarterback trying to get the signals in from the sidelines or communicating it to his teammates or the offensive line not getting it. It is a nightmare, and it's a tremendous home field advantage, no question, Rich.
What was the toughest place you ever had to play in?
Oh, just about all of them were. Denver was tough because there's no air there, and the crowd was right on top of the old Mile High Stadium. Oakland was always an interesting an adventure. That's before they had the black hole. The whole stadium was a black hole then. Then you got the Kingdome in Seattle, which was a very loud venue because it was a dome stadium.
What do you make of the Chargers this year, Dan? They look awfully good. They look awfully Super Bowl contenderish to me, just 5 games in. What do you think?
Well, I think they're off to the type of start they needed to have. And one of those wins, obviously, against Seattle gives them the confidence that, yeah, we can play with the best in the NFL. But if you look at the tail end of their schedule, that's where it's going to really be a challenge for them, especially with the injury problems they have on their offensive line and at running back. But, as I said, they're off to a great start. And Phillip Rivers, we talk about the conversation for MVP. He's got to be in the top 2 or 3 right now, the way he's playing and the way he has to play because of the offensive line problems and the running back situation.
Yeah, I mean, you make mention of the schedule. Let's just start Week 13, Sunday, November 30th, last day of November, at Baltimore. Then they're home for New England and Denver, and then they finish up at San Francisco on a Saturday. That could be on either CBS or NFL Network, and then at Kansas City. That is a gauntlet, to say the least, Dan.
Well, the other word you say in that is all playoff contending teams.
Yeah.
And that's the tough thing. And the travel is always difficult. Because it's a long travel for San Diego most of the time. But, yeah, I mean, so right now they're in great shape. Let's see how they are after that 49er game.
Do you have a relationship with Phillip Rivers? Because, all of us from the outside world just assume you're a Hall of Fame San Diego quarterback, and whoever's a Charger quarterback would reach out and try and reach out to you. Is that an assumption?
No, Phillip and I have a very good relationship. I broadcast the Charger preseason games, so I get to see him regularly there. And, of course, when I do get to do a Charger game, he's always topped on our list as to interview. And we share a lot in common, obviously, the position number one, his relationship with Norv Turner, who I have a great relationship with as well because he's an Oregon Duck, as I am.
Uh-huh.
So, Phillip I think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback in his own right, and I will be happy to be there someday in Canton, Ohio, when he is inducted.
What do you talk about with other Hall of Fame quarterbacks when you're, I guess, either in the Nitschke luncheon, which I know you're not allowed to talk about what goes on in there. It's like Fight Club. But, I mean, when you get around with other also bust gallery immortals, what do you talk about, Dan?
Usually we talk about what's hurting. Yeah, hey, how's your knee? Did you get a new knee? How's that shoulder? You got a new shoulder? You got a new hip? And all those things. And then it gets down to, gosh, these guys are overpaid.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? I mean, but it just, so many people, so many fans would just love to be a fly on the wall when you sit there with people who have come before you and after you from the same position. And do you ever talk about moments from your career? Does those things ever go down, Dan? I'd love to get a fly on the wall perspective.
Well, there's so much respect and humility in the Hall of Fame. The players, you go from competing to now you're on the same team, and you've all shared so many of the same experiences. I think that's the big thing. We've all won big games. We've all lost big games. We've all, been injured. We all had to fight through that. And it's all, once in a while you get back to in 82, you guys killed us, but we got you in 83 or something like that. So it's all in good nature. But I think the key word for me in the Hall of Fame is just it's the most humbling experience to know that you're with these men who started the game and made the game what it is today.
And you get to see a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer at quarterback this weekend in Peyton Manning. Where do you stand on the issue of him on the Mount Rushmore of your community, Dan? A lot of people think that he's the best ever, regardless of how many rings he has, and others need to see more rings to put him in that position. What do you say?
Well, obviously, not having any rings, I don't think that that's the measure of greatness. It's what type of memory you leave. And when you think of Peyton Manning, you think of greatness. And you know that at some point he's going to have all the records. But it's more than just the way he's played. It's the way he's lived his life and the way he has set the example for so many young players in how to go about doing your job, working hard, doing the right things on and off the field. I just think he's a tremendous role model for not only football players, but everybody in general. I mean, you look at him and you just marvel at the way he's been able to live his life and play the game. And don't forget, I mean, he was out of the game with a serious neck injury.
Right.
One where he lost control of his throwing motion, had to relearn it, and now he's playing as if nothing ever happened, as if he's a 30-year-old quarterback instead of almost 40.
We totally take it for granted how he's performed the last 2 years, and how he's done the last 2-3 years is beyond remarkable, Dan. Beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I remember sitting down and talking to him and having him explain to me his nerve problem, and I'm thinking to myself, you got to be kidding. Here's the neck, which, we know how serious a neck injury can be and how, all the bad things that can happen. And here he's playing in the NFL as if it never happened. That's just a testament to how hard he worked to get back and how much it means to him.
Dan, thanks for phoning in. I already look forward to the next time. Say hi to Ian for us, okay?
You bet, Rich. Thanks for having me.
You bet. That's Dan Fouts.